But Sahadev, what happened first hour?
Sir, late sleeping, sir.
Mhm. Okay, just today I'll play one video. We'll see. So Sahadev, Rajesh, Nayana, and Surya Prakash. They're supposed to give presentation. No? You give next class, and today we'll see one video.
Now, where we
One
stand
case
today,
study
I think
question will see
probably
it.
is that that's not how everything is worked out. Let us take one case study of a hyperlocal company and we'll just see what details they go in. So here is a case of a slightly different company. This is a company which said we will deliver mobile phones and electronic gadgets and items from nearby stores to your home. Instead of you getting this entire item online from Gurgaon coming to you and then it delivered to your place, we will deliver it to your home from nearest possible store by tying up with local retailers of mobile phones. Okay. So then they will have the entire, by the way, hyperlocal is to have a service level measure. So for them, there is an entire IT system required. What does that IT system do? It will check if an order is assigned or not. Then they will check using GPS whether your biker is moved 100 meters away from the place of store or not. Otherwise, they will do an escalation. Because you have promised 1 hour of delivery, for example, 60-minute delivery. And your biker is sitting on the order waiting, saying, I'll go after 15 minutes. That will become a problem, right? So that would not be acceptable. Then, of course, when he reaches 100 meters before the customer's address, customer gets a message saying that your delivery is on the way, be ready with the money so that I can finish the transaction very fast. At the delivery time, at the customer's location, he will use his mobile application to say, okay, I've arrived at the customer location. And then the software.
Actually, right, this one I thought of play, right?
content strategy, correct? And what I said in content was it's very closely knit with another part of online business, which is something called user interface. Okay? Usually, people confuse user interface and something called user experience. Okay? So, let's talk about what are the differences between the two, because I think it's important before we move forward. We should know what user interface means and what user experience means. Okay? Because they're two different things. The first thing what I'll do is I'll talk about the function. Okay? What are the difference between the functions? Then what I'll talk about is the role, so that even further you can understand how the two things are very different in that. Okay? So when it comes to function, if you look at user experience, right? Actually, you know what? First, let's talk about user interface. It talks about output devices. So what will you see on those devices? Right? Your computer, your laptop screen, your mobile device. What are the action buttons? Where are they going to be placed? All that kind of stuff, right? What are the different user controls? User controls meaning your, your form, your text box. Where are you going to place them on your website? Okay? The drop downs. Okay? Then, what tools are you going to integrate? Okay? Then, what are the visual design elements that you have? And that's probably a very broad description of a UI. It's your visual design. Okay? Again, what is the content that's going on? That's part of the user interface. Versus user experience. Okay? What user experience does, and what are the different functions in user experience are site mapping, your analytics, your customer satisfaction, your prototyping, your sketching, okay, your collaboration, your user testing. The difference is experience, and by the way, experience, we have a whole class. We'll be talking about user experience. Today we'll talk about user interface, and then we'll talk about user experience. User experience is basically for your customer, right? How to make them like you. Okay? So, user interface is how do you present it to them? How is it presented? What's the visual look like? And then experience is what will they experience? How will they go through the site? Okay? What are the different things responding to them? So where does analytics come in play? Is if a customer is behaving a certain way, the site also changes itself to behave a certain way. So that's all experience. Okay? So first, we need to know that today what we're going to be talking about is user interface, which are specific elements, right? Elements such as your button, what user controls you're talking about, what the visual design will look like.
Based on the user experience which we pre-decide, you should have user interfaces designed by you or.
Okay, it's actually not independent. Okay, it's actually dependent on each other. Okay, once you've set your goals, you've identified your audience, etc., etc., etc. Okay, what happens is these two areas, user interface and user experience, work hand in hand to actually ultimately deliver the website or the mobile app, whatever. Okay, and there are two different types of people also. So, kind of question, and I'll lead you into how I look at these two people.
Right this moment, there is a mad rush in America. Apple, Amazon, Facebook, dozens more. They're all betting on a radical new technology that will change the way we live. This is the future, says Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. The Wall Street Journal agrees, calling it foundational. Like the internet and electricity, investors are paying close attention because the
there is a UI designer. Okay, he's the person who has a visual thought. This is how I need to place my buttons. Okay, so they're very visual, right? Versus a UX designer which is thought oriented. This is what my customer will do. Very different people. Okay, and their functions are different because they're handling different things, but they have to work together ultimately for that final product. And it's not who comes first and who comes next. Okay? It's hand in hand, right? If you look at it, the UI designer has expertise in mock-ups, doing graphics, doing placements, layouts, okay, versus somebody that is a UX designer. They may know how to architect things, right? Because a customer will have a certain journey. How do you look at that journey? Okay, and again, it's not UX guys' work is not limited to the website. That experience will carry forward to other things also. Okay, so finally, how do they get the product? How they package? All of that will start coming in user experience, your customer service level, etc. The design of the website, which is a visual element, is a user interface kind. Okay, so the two of them are very different people. Okay? Both of them may have similar strengths, but they look at things very differently. And if you look at it, they both have visual strength, but the UI designer is looking at colors. He's looking at what type of fonts to use, right? Versus a UX designer will look at the flow, who will look at the scenarios that can happen with the customer. The same strength, but the way they look at it at a website or an app or whatever is very different. Okay? And today, we are going to concentrate more on the user interface, the visual elements. Okay? Because even though they both go hand in hand, they have to be taught differently because it's a different set of mindset that goes in. Okay? Any questions?
We see more of a technical, which he has to think more from the technical point of view, and user experience will be from the more emotional and.
Realistically, they both have to have both. Realistically, even though they're looking at a problem, like I just gave an example of their visual, right? I can't say that one is more creative than the other. It's actually not true. They both have to be creative in their own sense. This guy's creative in the look, the feel. This guy's creative in their flow, right? What will a user do on the site, kind of stuff, right? So strengths are very similar, but they look at it very differently. More than likely, a UI is definitely a little more technical. Yes, they have to, because they have to understand the different user controls, right? What is a button? What is a drop down? What is a text box? What is a multi-select? They have to understand all of that. So yes, they will be a little bit different than the UX guy, a little more technical.
But the UI designer might be a more logical guy, and the designer will be a more creative person.
No, and that's exactly what I was saying. It is not. Even the UI designer has to be logical, right? He can't just place anything anywhere, right? There has to be logic behind why. The only thing he and the UX designer may do differently is he may place it best possible, but the UX guy will think that if a customer comes here, what will he do? There's a difference. He's placed it perfectly, but the UX guy will think, now if a customer comes here, what will he do? Okay, and that's where the difference comes. Okay, one looks at it from the customer side. Okay, maybe that's more clear. One looks at it from the customer side, right? What is that experience going to be? The other one is looking at what is right. What is the perfect placement? What to put there? Okay, and we'll see examples of this. I think you may understand it. If at the end we don't, we may ask other people what their definition is. For me, it's always been actually that it's a combined effort. Both of them always work together, in my case. We've never had one or the other work separately. Let's assume that we're kind of clear on what the two differences are. So what are the elements that are critical for your UI or your design? Okay. There are many elements, by the way. What I've done is simply only talk about 3 elements here, and I'll give you some tips and tricks also through the way. One is placement. Okay, where do you place what? Right, there's actually science behind it. Okay, layout of your content structure is a science. It is not something that you just come up with. Okay. Other is navigation.
if I don't want to make a video like this of myself, I can just make a really cute one of caricature with.
How do you drive a person from one element to another? One page to another page. One section to another section. Okay? And then lastly, the aesthetics, right? The visual appeal. So three major elements that we'll talk about. Okay? And then I'll talk about some other ones. But these are three major ones. So when it comes to placement, right? There's nothing ever on a new homepage, new web page, right? Ever develop anything, it always is blank, right? Always blank. Start with something blank. Now what you have to do is you have to think where you're going to place everything. You can't just put it, it's wizard out, smoother out. There's actually science. So how do you go about and actually place everything on a blank slate, basically what you start with. Okay? So here are a few things that you need to think about. What is the element that we're discussing? Now, when I say element, if you look at it, your logo, your title, your announcements, your blog, everything is an element. Any kind of content about this, any content that we talked about in the last chapter is an element. So what are the elements that we're trying to place? And how the element relates to the goal of that page. Okay? So if you're trying to sell something, right? Let's say it's a product page. You want to sell a product. Having that add to cart button is an element. Because the goal of that page is to sell. So you need to identify what that element is and where will you place it. Not only where will you place it, but how does it fit with other elements? You can't just place that and forget about the other elements. Right? So you have your product name, you have your product title, you have your product images, you have your product videos, your product description, your shipping details, etc., etc., etc. There's hundreds of elements. So you need to not only know your elements, right, how it relates to the page, but you also have to think about other elements on the page. Okay. So let's look at how elements are, right? So you list all the elements on a page, right? You'll have your headlines, your menus, your images, your contact boxes, your search boxes, and a lot of other elements. Okay. First, you need to make a list of them. For every page, make a list of what elements are going on. Don't place them. Make a list. Okay. That's key. Because what do you want on each page of your website, of your app, etc. Once you have a list, and by the way, we talked about this, I think you've done wireframe, right? So that wireframing tool, all the different things you can place is an element. Right? You saw all the elements there? Right? That's how you build that wireframe. Okay? Now think about what elements you want on each page. And before you go to wireframe and start creating the wireframe, you actually need to list it. Once you list it, then you need to start talking about how am I going to group these different elements. And any web page follows this. You can probably go across any website out there. It follows this placement, right? There's a header, there's a body, and there's a footer. Any web page. I mean, some want to break tradition and not do it, but 99% of the web pages out there will follow these three elements. Okay? And usually, in the header, go your common elements, your logos, or website name, what is the slogan you want for your website, the search bar, etc., will go on your headers. And we'll see an example of this. And then, are your page-specific elements? What do you want to show on that page? Usually is your body. And some common elements that are administrative, right? You contact us, your about us, your terms of usage, etc. go on your footer. Okay? This is common. This is not something we're coming up with, right? 99, probably more than 99% of web pages out there follow this placement. Okay? So you do not put something that belongs in the body on the header, and something that belongs in the header in the body. Okay? a website and it belongs on the top left in most cases. By the way, how many have you seen a website that has the logo on the right hand side? So, point is, if we see 3 or 4 websites with the logo on the right hand side, that means it's not a common practice. And it's not a common practice because of a reason.
This is my video. It's pretty good, right? Well, it's a little boring. Can't you do?
How many of you read right to left?
No.
We all read left to right. So the first thing you want on your website is what? Your name, your logo. Putting it on the right hand side is opposite of how a person would anyway see it. Why would you do it? The biggest thing about any venture is your brand has to be recognized. If I'm doing opposite, then it doesn't make sense. And as such, placement becomes important because it's on the top left, not on the right hand side. Okay? Now, if you look at it, on the top, it also has order hotline. It has a slogan for the site, how does your garden grow, something like that. Again, all of this stuff has been thought about where to put it because it is common. It's brand related, and so it belongs in the header. If you look at the middle, which is the body part of it, it has product images on it. You know those 4 boxes that you see? Those are 4 different types of products. You will never find a site with product on the header. Actually, that's not true. You used to find sites with products on the header. Not anymore. People have realized it doesn't work.
Some sites I have seen, they don't have product per se on the header, but there's a link to the product on the header. Featured or feature item.
I would doubt that it's a header. It could be part of the body, but it's on top. There's a difference. So, if it is, definitely not part of the science that's used to create this. You will not find any, by the way, the best way to see if what you're talking about is going to work is just to see the largest of the sites out there. What are they doing? Are they putting a product up on top? Because if it worked, they would do it.
Actually, I think that was half of what.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. There's a chance that it could be on top of your body, but not as part of your head. It just doesn't work. Okay, but what you'll see is a lot of the sites will put a discount code on the header. Right? Why? Because they want your attention. Okay? It's not normal practice. Not every day you see it. But let's say today you're going to make my trip and make my trip as a special deal, Bombay, Delhi, Tanur, Vigatna. Right? They put it up on the top. Because they want your attention. But the science says that this is how it needs to work. You have common information in header, age specific information in your body, and administrative related information in your body. By the way, when we start talking about SEO tomorrow, we realize that people also expect the same thing. They also expect us to work the same structure. So by breaking the structure, you're actually going to hurt yourself, not only for your customer, but also for home. Okay? So this is what basically a placement looks like once it's a homepage wireframe that we picked out as an example. But that's how your wireframe should. Okay? We had a student that insisted on the search box being on the left side of the website instead of the left. I'm going to do what is different. Remember, there's a point I made in content. There's a certain expectation a customer has been set with. How many we expect the search box is where the expect it in the center or on the right side, because that's where he usually is. Now he wants to be different. He wants to go out and create his own name. But listen, we were telling him and trying to convince him that listen, you're not gonna make any name, you're just gonna fail. Because customers don't expect the search box to be in the left hand side. And you again, when you're creating the same thing, you probably want to look at it. Okay? Any questions on this?
Just want to make a when you said that to be
social plugins at this point, right, are moving to the header, right, or body, because they're so important part of what you do or how you sell online that they've actually moved from administrative up to either the body or the header. One of the things we talk about content being king, right? If you're able to solve content and if you're able to solve design, right, most of your battles to sell online has been won.
Want your business email to be Gmail? Get Google Workspace from Hostika. It's more than just a domain-based email address. Look, all productivity tools you know and love are included, so you can do your job right away. Simply connect Google Workspace with your custom email address and start chatting, voice calling, video calling without leaving a window. You can work from everywhere, on any device, even offline. Cool, right? With notes and shared files at your fingertips, it's easy to keep on track with whatever you do now. Spend less time planning and more time doing.
It's said that if you solve those two problems, 50% of the battle is won. Okay? Because if a person, now the other 50% is getting the person in. But once they're in, you know if the content and design is correct, that they will purchase. They're a proper target that you brought in. Okay? Here's a little example. Once we talked about placement, the other thing we wanted to talk about was navigation, right? What is navigation? By the way, do you know that navigation comes from a Latin word? No? I'm sure you can assume this was used for sailors. Right? Navigate. And the reason it started being used online as well is that it's just as important as it was for the sailors. Right? Without navigation for a sailor, they would get lost and die. Online is the same thing. A customer comes, and if you're not able to navigate them properly, what will happen? They'll either leave, or they just won't find what they're looking for. Okay? So in the user interface, after the placement, navigation is another huge important point. Okay? Today's an example I took up from Yahoo, and this is a little bit old, but I said, you know what? I like this example. If you look at it, the line on top is called the top navigation. Right? Then you have your search box and you have your side navigation. Now, the concept of top and side navigation used to be a large deal in the past. Today, some sites still continue to do it. Some have moved away from side navigation and they only have top navigation. But again, that's a call you will make when you're designing your website, when you're putting those elements together, when you're designing your navigation. Okay? Do you want both? Do you want one? What do you want? Here's some brief tips on navigation, of what navigation we're talking about. Sorry, first let's talk about what navigation we're talking about. So most of you heard of word menus, right? It's on our website, all of us, home page, product, etc. They're your menus, right? The first place people look, understand what's on the site is your menu. Because most of us are not able to make our slogan detailed enough or pointed enough to tell a person what we do. So where does a person look? They go look at the menu. Always notice, as soon as you end up on a site, the first thing you will try to find is where's the menu. And based on that, you understand what they do. Right? So in navigation, your first most important thing is to get your menus right. Okay? And in menus, you also have sub-menus today. Okay? So if you look at a site, let's say you're buying a mobile phone, you click on mobile phone, then it shows you a whole bunch of options. Maybe it's by company, you want a Micromax, you want an Apple, you want etc. Or it could be by features, right? Am I looking for a 3G phone? Am I looking for a 4G phone? Am I looking for a phone with 10 megapixel camera, right? So those are your menus and sub-menus that are out there. Okay? The other thing is something called breadcrumbs. How many of you know what breadcrumbs? That's the kind that you eat. Like I'm on a page, I get into product page, I selected some other product like page, product, navigating your customer. Because when you go to a page initially, it has thousands of products, thousands. Then you start clicking these filters, and you end up at 200, maybe lesser. Then you actually navigated that customer to a perfect product or to a product that they may want to know. Okay? So, another type of navigation is your filters. And lastly, your navigation is also driven by links. Sometimes as part of your content, you provide links, right? You say that you can go from this page to this page by clicking here. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're purchasing a t-shirt, right? I may choose to put in the description that with this t-shirt, there is a great set of pants that you should look at, or shorts you should look at. And here's the link. You click it, you go to the pants, right? That's another type of navigation that you can bring. That navigation is obviously much more involved. Okay, takes effort, takes time, etc. But you know what? It works very good. I'm telling you from personal experience. In our jewelry business, we build these navigations, and when we did, the number of sales that were multiple products in.
Once upon a time, a man made a video and then he posted it. But as the hours passed by, still nobody noticed him. He gets sadder and sadder. He shouted.
Right? Because they were on the earrings page. Right? They're looking at the earring and we say, you know what? With this earring, there's another pendant. Today what happens is, you know, you see as part of the recommended product or people also purchase. You know what? I like that. But I still feel that if it was part of that description when I was reading it, while I was making the decision to purchase, if I knew it right then, I would have probably purchased it. Because you know what, I would have decided in my mind, my budget is 500, but that is, you know what, this makes it a bus. Versus if I've added it to the cart, and suddenly you tell me, you know what, I got another product. Now I've got to go back and think, what is my budget? Can I have not done this? Etc. I like links sometimes a little better than product recommendations and upsells. Okay? And we did upsells also. And believe me, the upsells didn't work as well as these links. Okay? So these are 4 different types of navigation. And just give you an example. This is something we took from Amazon. This is a shoes page. And if you look at it, on the left-hand side, you see all the different types of menu options for shoes and handbags, right? You see men's, women's, etc. Sorry, men's, etc. Then on the bottom, you see all the filters. So these are some of the navigation options. One navigation option that I didn't mention earlier, and it's here, and it's actually part of the links, is if you look at the top shoe, the top left shoe, there's something called related searches. Right? And it's giving you a link to something that is related. And in this case, the related searches, it shows is casual shoes, formal shoes, etc. Because they're saying it, listen, you may not find the product you're looking for here, but there's things others very related to this that you may be looking for. Okay? This is another example of that links navigation.
Right. So we have seen one video how to start up with UIDs. For that, when you have many items, how to organize. So that is called one case study. So whatever we have done it, because individually we have done it, interfaces, connections, all these things. But how to organize is called the one case study. How to organize when you have menu items. They have taken some of the examples how to arrange the icons. So when you are making any business setup for the case studies, how to make it with the link between one to another. That is what the meaning for the video presentation. So next class we'll see with some other examples, and I'll take the attendance now. Answer attendance 2,
Yes, sir.
3, 4, 5,
Present, sir.
6, 7, 8,
Yes, sir.
9, 10,
Yes, sir.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Present, sir.
ಯಾಕೆ ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ?
ಸರ್ ಮಲಗಿದ್ದೆ ಸರ್.
ನೀವು ಇದು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಡೆಮೋ. ನೀನು ಇದು I've given one topic, no, to you on 9.
It's today, sir. We'll do it tomorrow, sir.
Next class we do it. Tomorrow, next class also 8:30 only. Get up early.
Okay, sir.
16, 17, 18, 19. Pradeep, 20,
Present, sir.
21. Rajesh, 24,
Present, sir.
25,
Present, sir.
26, 26, Santosh, 27,
Yes, sir.
28, 29,
Present, sir.
30, Spurti,
Present, sir.
31,
Present, sir.
32, 33, Varsha, 34,
Present, sir.
50, 50, 51, 52,
Present, sir.
53,
Yes, sir.
54, Chetana, Chetana, 55,
Present, sir.
56, Madhushree, 57,
Present, sir.
58,
Present, sir.
59,
Present, sir.
60,
Present, sir.
61,
Present, sir.
62,
Present, sir.
63, Pooja, 63, Prashant.
Sir.
Right, right.
sir.
Right. Prashant, 64, Pratibha, 65, 66,
Present, sir.
67, 68,
Present, sir.
69,
Present, sir.
70, Sridhar, 71, 72,
Sir, 71 present, sir.
72, Tejashwini, 73, Mahani, 74, 75, 76, 77. Right. We'll see the remaining things next class.
Sir, 71 present, sir.
70.
71.
71 right, sir. Then it's given. Okay.